those bird behaviors you're constantly doing. So, and preening, it's like, okay, keep your hands to yourself. Okay. So, well, last warning, second. Okay. So, as Chantal said, I work with animals in any kind of form. Ever since I was a kid, I didn't play with dolls. I only played veterinarian with the girl up the street. You know, I did the things, you bring home some injured animal and you do the best you can, and you learn a lot about the science, and you learn a lot about life and death. And it went through, you know, regular old school, stayed in the science world, but I love teaching. And so that is the route I took, and then now I've got it, the whole kit and caboodle, being able to teach what I love. So between doing the Docent program and then rolling into Docent/education specialist, I can then work that in with my environmental consulting work, and as Chantal said, quite busy. Quite busy. So anyway, when I work at the zoo, I work with puppets a lot. And the zoo has a fabulous amount of puppets. We have great biofacts, everything you can think of to get your point across when you're out teaching. So I just brought down some of my friends. This is the robin. The robin is my coworker when I'm out in the field with my walkie-talkie, and the kids know that you have to respect the robin. You don't walk in front of the robin. For the most part, it's fairly effective. He's a little bossy. We're not supposed to anthropomorphize, but you know, I can't love it. My real specialty, I'm not going to say birds are my specialty. It's something I enjoy very much, and any one of you as birders, you might be like, Carol, actually that has changed in the last year. This is my specialty. This is the desert tortoise, California state reptile. And while I was doing a lot of work in the Mojave, when they were putting up all the wind turbines, I was doing miles and miles and miles of surveys looking for desert tortoise sign, because they're, of course, a threatened species. While I was out there, I became just so enamored with the bird life. And especially because tortoises live about 95% of their life underground. It's like, okay, oh gosh, there's something alive. It's like a bird. So loved watching birds, and then my biology position started to change, and now I do a lot more nesting bird surveys for companies. You're out there with PG&E or Caltrans, and a lot of it is kind of standing over a hole. I had a job where they had all these ground squirrel burrows, and California tiger salamanders have this commensal relationship where they refuge in the ground squirrel holes, tunnels, burrows. So if there are a lot of burrows in the area and they have to work and repair the pipes, they'll make decisions and lay a lot of gravel down over the burrows. Of course, the animals can get up the back door. And as soon as that gravel came in, killdeer came in. And killdeer, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they will just lay their eggs right on the top of gravel, and they just camouflage beautifully. And so my job is to watch the killdeer family, and it takes quite a while, and it's like, okay, for God's sake, don't crack while I just go to the bathroom, okay? But it was fantastic, and you get the whole thing of when you go up in the morning, and you have to, as a biologist, you have to clear the area, and the killdeer, they see you coming, and they'll do the famous killdeer behavior of like pretending they have a broken wing and they're dragging it across the construction site. So the idea is that as a predator, you're going to follow that injured animal, and the nest is protected. But once all the construction people came up, killdeers were just fine, because they seem to understand that with all this noise going around, predators were not going to come into the area. And then they could all relax as they're like tearing up the ground and fixing. So birds, pretty sharp. So I'm not sure what has already been covered with the Docent program. I know you got to meet Brock and Jenny. I will be going into more of the physicality of birds and such, the biology. Every once in a while, I'll probably play with a puppet or turn on a video for a bit of a break. And please, some of you may know far more than I do, especially if we have any paleontologists in the room. When we talk about some of the ancient fossils, I'm not that familiar, and bear with me. But so, why do birds matter? What is it about birds that are important to us, to the world, to the earth? Any goes? What do you think about when you think about a bird? Yeah.
Well, they pollinate like crazy.
Pollinate like crazy, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better.
Pollination happened up on the ledge there this morning when Rob was sitting there.
What was happening?
He pollinated.
Well, fantastic. You can't ask for more.
Yeah.
Or seed dispersal, I think.
Yeah, seed, yes, absolutely.
Yes, dispersal.
Fine seed dispersal. So yeah, the pollinators, seed dispersers. What else are birds doing to keep this earth on the right track? Yeah.
A lot of them clean up carrion.
Absolutely. So not only are you having these wonderful, as you said, cleaning carrion, and they also are bone scatterers. So as they're taking care of these carcasses, they're moving the pieces into different areas, and that makes soils a lot healthier and such.
They're part of the food chain.
Pardon me?
They're part of the food chain.
Oh,
Our
you
animal
bet.
system.
Absolutely. They are food and they eat, and depending on what kind of bird they are, they're on different levels of food chain.
Thanksgiving's coming.
Yes, I know. And as a vegetarian, they're safe in one house. Although it's like, gosh, you can't drink any kind of milk now. It's like, I'm always looking when you were talking about almond milk and then the palm, and then being mad at Trader Joe's. I feel like I've just lived all that just in the last few weeks, and I'm drinking my Dean's Beans Bird Watchers coffee, and it's like, okay, is that okay? And then I have my carrageen-free, some kind of milk-ish product.
You can literally drive yourself crazy doing this.
You can
yes.
indeed. But the container that the beans come in, it's biodegradable, and they're like, you can put it in your compost, you can put it in your recycling, you can even throw it in the landfill, and it's going to disappear. It's like, okay, all right, until next week when they'll find something wrong with this.
Right.
So yes, birds, they pollinate, they disperse seeds, they scavenge those carcasses, and by doing that, they're recycling nutrients back into the earth. So when they're also indicator species about the health of our planet, and I'll get into that in a moment, but because of this ability to fly, and we all know that certain birds cannot, but for the most part, birds fly. But throughout time, birds have been seen as symbols of freedom and escape. Many religious beliefs use birds as a connection to the gods or heavens because of flight. Birds can be seen as symbolic of the future, symbols of hope. So when you think of a bluebird, what's the connotation you always think of?
Happiness.
Happiness. Doves are a symbol of peace. Eagles, a symbol of strength, freedom. We all talked about our president. Owls, wisdom. Ravens,
Smart.
Bad luck.
Poe, smart. A lot of people think of ravens as death almost, but they can also be thought of as the teacher. They are extremely intelligent as one of the core bids. Don't try to pull something over a raven. Pardon? And how about condors? The symbolism of condors.
Freedom?
Yeah, freedom, power. A lot of cultures will think of like health, and we can only hope that we haven't sent them down the extinction route. So, when we're talking about the different reasons that birds matter, they are this early indicator of the state of the environment. A healthy bird population signals a healthy ecology. They're an important part of the species chain, supporting Earth's ecosystems, and we need to pay attention to them in order to recognize environmental changes and problems. Birds help people connect with nature, which often leads to caring enough about the environment and to do something to protect it. And that is why many of us are here at the zoo. We want to help get these important conservation messages out to the public. And we want to make change. And we aren't content to just sit back and take it and just admit defeat in a way. So I know when I interpret and I have a zoo school coming, I will meet them down in the lower parking lot and give out their wristbands and get them ready to go into the zoo. And I always stop for a moment, and before we even enter the zoo, I have the kids start using different senses. Because they've been in the car, on the bus, and they're pretty hyped up. So you have to get them to kind of focus and bring it down. So I'll have them start looking for birds, just on that pathway, listening for birds. And by doing that, you're also having them realize that the animals aren't just in the zoo. We are in this enormous a sizable open space, which is becoming more and more rare. Many kids live in neighborhoods where the amount of open space is negligible. So as you bring that up, all of a sudden you do see an honest hummingbird. A couple weeks ago, you might have seen the Allens. And then you get the kids not just to see that honest, but to hear that. And they'll start realizing they're hearing it all over the place. And if they're super lucky, maybe they're going to see that display of that male honest who's just going to shoot straight up, hover, and then shoot, make that J sound, and they'll just jump. Or if an honest will shoot right past them, and then you've got them. You've got them. And then they're looking for birds everywhere. If you can find a robin, gosh knows you are in good. California toadies, all the sparrows, the song sparrows are all lined up on the path going up to baboons. And there are all these other animals that just live in about, whether they're year-round residents or they're migratory birds. It's very exciting. So, birds. Let's get into it. All right, so birds, of course, are vertebrates. They, as we tell the kids, they wear that skeleton on the inside. The evolution of warm-blooded has enabled birds to survive in virtually every known environment. So they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. Some of them might have feet that are completely encased in feathers to keep them warm. Other ones that might be so hot that they're going to defecate on themselves to keep themselves cool. They've got all sorts of tricks up their trade. Is it all working? Yeah, good. Origin and early evolution. Evidence from fossils and from studies of comparative anatomy indicates that birds evolved from reptiles. And I'm sure we're pretty familiar with that story. Their features and their fragile, hollow bones do not preserve well. So Archaeologists have had difficulty in finding these old samples. Goodness knows feathers are particularly difficult. Archaeopteryx. It has long been accepted that Archaeopteryx was a transitional form between birds and reptiles, and that is the earliest known bird. Like reptiles, it had a large skull with teeth, bones that weren't hollow, claws on its forelimbs, and a long tail. The flight stroke may have originated as an extension of that grabbing forearm that motions that smaller theropods may have used to grab prey. So again, unlike living birds today, it had a full set of teeth, that long bony tail, and 3 claws on the wing. So scientists debate that the feathers were feathers used for regulating temperature or for flight, and it's still a debate. So as time went on, we've got, it's looking more like a bird to me, the presence of feathers and of a furcula, where the clavicles are fused together, which we think of as the wishbone. Think about how many times you would crack that. It seems kind of morbid now. Make a wish. It suggests that Archaeopteryx was bird-like, and then they do think it probably could sustain flight, but it was more of something where, as it was running to grab prey and doing the grasping, it might have started to take a little bit of lift. But actual flight or the strength to fly was not yet in the cards. So theropod means beast-footed. Bipedal dinosaurs, including the T-Rex, are theropods, and birds are descendants of small, non-flying theropods.
Theropod means, what was it again?
Beast-footed.
Beast?
Beast, as in you are a beast. And think about that T-Rex. Yes. So moving closer to our time, past Archaeopteryx, we have Hesperornis. This was a large, flightless diving bird, probably similar to the modern loon, but still had those reptilian teeth. It would have had, they had found fossils in western North America in the late 1880s. They suspect they were specialized swimmers with long torpedo-shaped bodies. Sort of penguin-like. They had reduced wings, indicates that there wasn't flight, but they had large, lobe feet to move swiftly underwater to catch fish in those long-toothed jaws. All right. Classification. All right. Let's see where I am. All right. So there are over 10,000 species of birds. To classify birds into orders and families, taxonomists most often use morphological evidence from beaks, feet, plumage, bone structure, and musculature. The following characteristics distinguish birds from other vertebrates. Body covered with feathers. Keep that, of course you all have feathers, I believe. Keep that in mind. Bones are thin and hollow. The total number of bones is lower than for mammals or reptiles. That makes sense when you think about flight and such, but then, the fusing is, one piece instead of two. Bird bones usually contain air. More oxygen can be absorbed from the air into the blood for the extra energy that a bird will need. And some flightless birds like penguins have solid bones.